What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. For today's lesson, we are going to talk about the StreamProvider. In the last episode, we talked about the Flutter Provider because Flutter Provider and StreamProvider both extend different inherited provider. So you can see they have a similarity in the usage. If you haven't checked my previous tutorial about the Flutter Provider, feel free to reach out to my channel page and you will find a Flutter tutorial, a GetX tutorial, network tutorial, and also the previous video about the Flutter Provider tutorial. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, sum up my content, and open the notification so you won't miss out the latest Flutter tutorial. Okay, without further ado, let's get started. Let's open the Visual Studio Code and iOS emulator. Here I'm going to restart the application and you're going to see the number will default set to 0 and increase each second until the 9 because we're using the StreamProvider and you will receive the string event and update the UI automatically. When compare the StreamProvider and the Flutter Provider, they both doesn't update the UI by click the button. So for example, in our emulator, I have this increased button. When I increase, the number doesn't get updated. So let's see, when I click this button, the console print out the currently number is increased to 10. However, the screen it still shows the 9 because the StreamProvider doesn't update the UI when you change the internal of the state. Okay, and you must implement this change notifier in order to update the UI. And however, the StreamProvider will update the UI when it receives the string. So that means every time when a new string coming, you will update the UI automatically. So that's the reason you see the number goes from 0 to the 9. So let's look at the code and you will have an idea about this. So first, and in our main.dar, we return the StreamProvider. And for the StreamProvider, we pass the model, which is the model string. Let's look at what is this model string. The model string is basically a normal class, have this integer number, and also have this increased method. So when I click the button, the number will increase by 1. And also it will print out in the console. If you watched my previous tutorial about the Flutter Provider, you will notice this class doesn't implement the change notifier mixin. So that's the reason why when you click the button, the UI doesn't update it. If you want to update the UI, you're going to make model class using the change notifier mixin and also create this change notifier provider. That's how you can update the UI. Back to the code, and we have this model string and we pass to the StreamProvider, and StreamProvider have this initial data attribute. So for this initial data attribute, we're going to create our model string by set the default value to 0, and then we can create string to load the data. So this initial data will display on the screen. So after we have a string coming, you will override our initial data. Okay, so for this create attribute, we pass this load string method. The load string method actually will return the string of our model string, right? So this method basically will increase the number every 1 second, so from 1 to 9. And every second, the new model string will create and will pass to our StreamProvider. So that's the reason why every time when a new string is created and we update the UI by this StreamProvider. And however, if you are trying to update those number manually by click the button, the UI doesn't change. And let's look at this StreamProvider example. So for the StreamProvider example, it's very basic stateless widget. We have the app bar and we have a colon contains the text widget, include the number, and also a button, which when you click the button, you're going to increase the number variable. Okay, so that's very much it. And let's try this again. So when you press this hold reload, the string doesn't recreate. So instead, it will update the UI because the number now is 10. So the screen will show the 10. So when I press this increase button twice, you see, now the console print out the 11, and I increase it again. So the console print out the 12. Now I click this hold reload button. So the screen will show the number to 12, right? But the string even no trigger again because this is a hot reload. Let's try to click this restart button. So when I click this restart, you will see the number goes to 0 because this is our initial data. So after that, every second you will receive a new string event. And then the StreamProvider will update the UI until the 9, right? Because you see this load string method will return the string every 1 second. Like the Flutter Provider, the update new value from Flutter Provider will trigger only once. So that's when you click the restart button. The same goes to StreamProvider. So you only trigger once. This load string method only trigger once. And however, this method will return the nice string event. So every 1 second. And the StreamProvider receive the event, you will update the UI. So that's the reason you see the number increase from 1 to 9. Okay, so that's basic about the StreamProvider. I hope now you have a better understanding of the StreamProvider and the Flutter Provider. So try to implement those by your own so you can get more understanding of how it works. We will continue our provider package tutorial in the next video. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, sum up my content, and open the notification so you won't miss out the latest tutorial. Okay, thanks for watching. I will see you in next one.